Thank you everyone for joining today. Um, as you know, I am a big fan of the Investment Readiness Program. So when they did their official announcement, which is technically the second announcement, because when the budget came out, and that would have been 2021, quite early 2021, it was announced that the Investment Readiness Program was going to be renewed. So for those that are hearing about the IRP for the first time, I'll give you a bit of the backstory. There is a social finance fund that the federal government, so the Liberal government, had created that was an $800 million pool of funds to invest into social enterprises. So what they found was that there weren't a lot of social enterprises ready to take on investment of hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. And you'll notice I said investment. So the government wants to invest these dollars, and that can be like a certain form of debt repayment or equity, some sort of way that they want to support the amplification of social enterprises. So they're talking about things that social enterprises aren't used to. So what they created was the Investment Readiness Program. So they carved out $50 million out of the $800 million to create a grant program to get social enterprises ready for bigger investment. So now you're able to apply with your social enterprise for between $10,000 up to $100,000. That money is designed to really fine tune your social enterprise, either concept for it, so you can do your business plan and your feasibility study, or if you're already running a social enterprise, you can actually use that money to, again, fine tune your operations to get you ready for bigger investment. So they want to see the social enterprise operating smoothly and generating revenue, having impact in the community, and then they want to invest more money into what you're doing so that you can grow. So the first stage is that investment readiness program, and then the second stage is the social finance fund. So all that to say, the initial round, which they did, I believe two rounds through the Community Foundations of Canada and another two rounds through the Canadian Women's Foundation. And there another Indigenous group that I think the Friendship Centers, they also were dispersing money to Indigenous folk. That ended, and then the budget that I was talking about renewed it. So they did 50 million, and now they're doing another 50 million. So that's what they were announcing on Friday and this past Monday. So the applications are about to open. It will be done through the Community Foundations of Canada again. I believe there's additional partners, but they didn't say what their process is going to be. So all that to say, if you're running a business and you do have a social component to it, you're supporting the community in a positive way, you are running a social enterprise. And a lot of times businesses in our community miss these types of funds and grants because we're running a for-profit business and not thinking that it connects to grants in any way because you're not a nonprofit. That's why I really like this grant, because it's one of the first that supports social enterprises and businesses that have been doing great work in the community for so long and typically weren't able to get grant funding. So the fact that I'm excited about it isn't enough. We want to be able to work with entrepreneurs to get them at least their applications done and in, and then beyond that, we want to track that success. So I'll tell you why we want to track that success. The last round, and I'll share my screen. Give me one sec. So everything that I was explaining just a second ago is pretty much all on this page, this government page. It might be a bit more difficult to navigate, so I tried to sum it up, but I'll put this link into the chat so you can actually read more about the program itself. Hold on. And let me pop this out. Okay. So you'll see there's really limited restrictions to it. If you're women, Indigenous, low income, Black Canadians, person with disabilities, as long as you're running income generating enterprise that has a social component to it. So you'll notice social enterprise has, it's kind of in the middle of the spectrum of how you can register an entity. On the one side, a nonprofit generally gets their revenue from fundraising and grants. So if they create their own income generating activity or business, that business would be considered a social enterprise because it's helping to fuel the nonprofit operations, but it's also making its own money. On the other side, like a purely for-profit business, if they have positive community impact, then they're considered a social enterprise. So if you've been running your business and you're also, for example, using those funds to run youth programs, or you hire from a specific segment of the community that traditionally has trouble getting a job, you'd be considered a social enterprise and you would qualify for this grant. And you'll see, so now they've kind of broken it down to, what are they saying here? So your business can help, this is what you can use the money for. So to help with market analysis, develop new products and services, build business plans, and acquire technical expertise. So like I said, you can be in the idea stage where you're thinking of a social enterprise that you want to launch. You can do the market analysis for it and do the business plan, or you can already be running and want to do your business plan or develop additional products or services, or bring in technical expertise that would allow you to now, let's say you're bringing in a financial expert to do your projections and your financial modeling to help grow your social enterprise. These are things that are perfectly okay to use the money for. And so this is where now, where do you submit your proposal? So the first round, the main place to submit it was the Community Foundations of Canada. It is going to be them again, the Chantier de l'Économie Sociale. That's French focused. So if you're Francophone, and I don't know if they limit it only to Quebec, but if you're Francophone, there would be an application through there. The Canadian Women's Foundation is specific for charities. So if you're a regular for-profit and running a social enterprise, you would not qualify. If you're a nonprofit and running a social enterprise, you also would not qualify. You do have to be a registered charity, and the business has to be supporting women in some way. So that's where these two, and the National Association of Friendship Centers, that one is specific to the Indigenous community. So out of those three, they have very specific criteria on who can apply. The Community Foundations of Canada would be more broad. So you see where it shows these types of equity serving groups. The Community Foundations of Canada, their application actually is open to all of them, where some of the other partners, it's very specific who it can go to. So this is where we're going to be keeping close attention to the next announcement from CFC, because they're going to be giving the information on how to apply. Unfortunately, when I did click on this link and you go to check it, it just takes you to general information about the community foundations. So by the time we're meeting next Wednesday, they should have an application portal open. I thought that they were going to open the application portal on Monday. I didn't see it. So we want to keep out for them opening the application portal. But even if the portal is not open, the fact that it's live, we should be getting our applications ready. So I just wanted to kind of show that. So you'll see in the first round, these were the organizations that were part of the ecosystem builders. But now you'll notice that the Afro-Caribbean Business Network is also part of the ecosystem. So what does that mean for you? Two things. The first is we are going to be really actively making sure as much people in our community apply and at minimum get their application in, because we've also supported people with the first round of getting their applications in. And we were one of the recipients of the investment readiness program. We have a lot of information and templates that we can support you with to make sure your application includes all the key elements. We'll be able to show you applications that were successful and applications that were not successful, so you can learn from the not successful ones and also learn from the successful ones. But the second big key piece is that the first time that the IRP was rolling out, we were able to support at least 20, like I tracked 20 applications that went in, and 5 of them were successful. So to me, that was a low percentage. And so we started looking through what was the process, who are the loan reviewers, what questions are in the actual application, do they make sense, are they clear? So we wrote a report for the Community Foundations of Canada, and that helped to shape their second round when they were first doing it and fixing some of those barriers. So now we are going to be also doing that, a similar report for the renewal of the IRP. So when I ask you to come to these sessions, I really want to make sure that you let me know if you're interested in applying, and I'm going to give you a form to fill out so that you can actually, we can track your process. Where did you get stuck? If you got stuck, did you get your application in, and were you successful, so that we can actually advocate on your behalf. Again, we can't promise that you're going to be able to get the grants. It's going to be very competitive. My goal is to support 1,000 Black social enterprises to get their applications in. And I would say if we hit 100, that'll still be great. But I want to really put pressure on this grant because it's one of the best ones for people running social enterprises and businesses that we don't want to miss. So if you know another business owner, please make sure that they attend the next Wednesday session and join some of the working groups, because don't miss this grant just because you didn't get your application in. And so all that to say, we can't guarantee you'll get the money, but we can guarantee that when you put your application in, we'll be able to follow up. We'll be able to at least get questions answered if it was declined. And if it's in, there's a possibility that it will be successful. So the last time, what's 5 out of 20? I was like 20%. Actually, is that 20%? No, less than that. Let's see. What was our percentage last time? I want to make sure that we do better. Okay, so we were at 25% success rate in our last round. Now we want to, one, get that the number of applications in up to, I say my stretch goal is 1,000, but from 20 up to 100, and increase that percentage from 25%. Hey, let's go for a 50% successful rate. So being part of our info sessions and our working groups, we really, truly want to see you succeed. And anything that you think of that can support you in this process, please let me know so that we can add it in. It should be open from now. I know their deadline for our agreement was March 2023. So between now and then, I'm hoping they do at least 2 rounds. So let's get your application in. And the good thing is, if it, let's say it declines in that first round, we'd be able to get it in the second round with learning from the first round. So be present with these working groups. If you're, and again, if you're looking for additional funding for your business, you're in the right place. There's actually another one that just launched as well, the Toronto Enterprise Fund, but we'll talk about that on Wednesday, the next Wednesday. So we're really keeping our ear to the ground for these grants that are available. This to me is one of the best ones, especially if you're a for-profit business. So stay tuned. And I did want to pause here and just see if there's any questions. I know a few people today have not applied before, so this is new. But if you have, or if you have questions, please feel free to ask away. Let me stop sharing just so I can see properly. Am I still sharing? Okay, yes.
Hello.
Yes, please feel free. Yeah.
My name is Fimo, and just a quick question. I have a small nonprofit where we create meditation and discussion spaces, as long as like wellness retreats for racialized and marginalized folk, mainly Black people. And so I was wondering, there was one grant I heard, but it was you had to have a charity number. We don't have a charity number yet. Are there grants for nonprofits? Because we're not a full profit business.
Yes. So this one, the initial investment readiness program that first launched was through the Canadian Women's Foundation. So for that one, you did have to have a charity number. For the one that's going to be coming online through the Community Foundations of Canada, you don't have to have a charity number. You can just be a for-profit, you can be a nonprofit as long as you have an income generating activity. So some of those programs that you do, if they're all free right now, you want to create some paid programming, and this grant can help you with those fine tuning.
Oh, sounds good. All right, perfect. So next
Yes.
we get more information, right?
Mm. Oh, sorry, say again?
So next Wednesday we'll get more information on those different grants. That one in particular from Canadian.
Right. Yeah, and we're going to be showing examples of previous applications that we've put in, some that were successful, some that weren't, so we can start helping you create the template for your application that you're working on.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, my pleasure. All right. And yes, Sharon was saying this is a good start. Finally, something for for-profit businesses. That's why I follow it so closely, because a lot of entrepreneurs come through our network, and typically we're always pushing them to loan programs. Even ACBN, we have our own loan programs, but this grant and like the Toronto Enterprise Fund is also for profit, but really it's only these two. And even the Toronto Enterprise Fund has very specific criteria that you have to be an employment social enterprise. For businesses that are just operating and doing community good, the investment readiness program is the best one that I've seen. So at minimum, out there's like 4,500 entrepreneurs in our database. I would want to see all of them put in an application. But again, people are at different levels, but at least this is the one that really caters to them. So you don't want them to miss it. And that's why I appreciate you taking time to jump on. I know we just kind of put it up today, but I'm really enthusiastic is not the right word. It's critical that we participate in these granting programs, because what they'll say if we don't apply, and I believe the last time there's about 1,200 that applied, and let's say 100 came from the Black community, and we personally helped 20. So if we are the only voice to get information to the Black community so that we're representing more than 10% of the people getting these funding, that's a problem to me. And I'm going to be reaching out to the rest of the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem for them to make sure that they're doing sessions about this as well. Yes, it will increase the competition, but at least you're participating, and that way we can now track how many of us are actually getting these grants and what needs to be fixed to increase the percentage. If we're not participating and they look at us and they're like, well, only 10% of the applications that came in were from the Black community, so what's the real big problem? They looked at me and said, oh, 25% success rate out of the ones that you helped is great. I guess I look at the definition of success and great differently, because I'm thinking we there's 15 entrepreneurs that we helped that didn't get the money, that needed the money. To me, that is a broken system. We shouldn't have only a 25% success rate in getting entrepreneurs capital. All that to say, I feel like by participating and putting pressure on these people, if our whole database, let's say 4,000 entrepreneurs applied for this fund, the government has to look at that and be like, well, perhaps this fund should be more than just $50 million. Perhaps this fund should actually be extended and we're not waiting for it to be renewed. It should be just legislated that this type of support for social enterprise is mandated. Perhaps there shouldn't be a competition for the grants. Perhaps it should just be on merit. And if you're running a social enterprise that checks all the boxes, there should be a pool of funds waiting for you so that you can keep doing the great work that you're doing. So far, we haven't been able to have those conversations because we're not participating enough. So if we're able to participate to that level to put real pressure on the government they're going to be able to open up their pocketbooks a lot more, and we can be part of that. All right. So yes, I apologize. Let me get off my soapbox. Let's check if there's any additional questions. And feel free, I mean, we'll be here for another 5 minutes. And Sharon did put into the chat that the decade of people of African descent is ending 2024, even though Canada got started late. I think we recognized it in either 2016 or 2018. That fact alone, we should be extending that past 2024. But we should really be putting a lot of pressure over these next 2 years. And look, 2022 is half done, to see how serious the government is with supporting the Black community. Of course, I'm coming from that entrepreneur lens, but there's so many other themes in the Black community that the decade is supposed to support. How does economics support those other organizations? Because I feel the economic ecosystem has a big microphone that we can now support a lot more community organizations. But hey, it takes time, it takes consistency, but we will definitely, at minimum, make our voices heard. All right. Okay. And Ashley, the link for next week, are you able to put that in the chat so people are able to register? And in between, I'm going to send out the form. If you're serious about applying for this grant, we want to track your journey so that we can advocate you at the end of it, or like I would rather celebrate the success of you getting some funding for your organization. And one piece, because a lot of times, well, out of the 5, I think 2 got a reduced amount. So putting in, and this form is going to ask, what is the number that, what is the amount of money that you need to hit that next milestone for your business or your organization? Because if they come back and say they're going to give you less, we want to be able to show to them, you need the full amount. Again, sometimes getting some is better than getting none, but if it's going to really help you get to that next stage in your business, we want to be able to advocate for you on that. So in the form, it's going to ask you, so start thinking about it now. What is that number that would allow you to hit the next milestone that you have for your business? And if you don't know it, definitely come to our sessions, because when we work through the budget, you have to have that number ready. And remember, this is only one grant opportunity. There's a lot of other ways to raise funds. You have to know what your target is. We can't just raise money by winging it. So that's just one piece. Yeah, we have a couple more minutes. Was there any additional questions? I mean, if you have the link, you can definitely read through it on your own time, and click on the Community Foundations link. Actually, let me put that in the chat too. The Community Foundations, it'll show all the people that got the grant last time. So you'll see the last 2 rounds, and you'll be able to get an idea of what they funded. Let's see this one, current initiatives. Investment in this program. All right. So when I put this one into the chat, thank you for that, Ashley. And this link, you can check out the Community Foundations of Canada website, and it'll show the list from the last 2 rounds who got funded, so you can get an idea of who got it. All right, sweet. Hey, if there's no additional questions, I hope you are ready, because over the next few weeks, we are going to get your application done so that you can get this grant for your business or your nonprofit. It'll take effort, it'll take work. I am committed to help you with this work and support you along the way. Same with Empowered for X and the entire Afro-Caribbean Business Network community and team. We're ready to do the work. So let's go get you some money. And thank you again. I always appreciate you being present and showing up. If there was somebody that should have been here that you think needs the information, ask us for the the recording, and we'll send it over to them. Otherwise, we shall see you next week, and we'll get started. Hey, my pleasure. All right, have a good one.